recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969.
Bow together for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you on behalf of all of us who are gathered here today for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself and for our health, which we do not take for granted. Thank you, Lord, for the guidance that we all need to fulfill our individual callings, to sustain our friendships, and to provide for our families. Thank you for the ability to be involved in the important and useful work of our community and for the honor of bearing our own individual responsibilities. Thank you for the freedom to believe in you, even if that means some do not. Thank you for loving us, even in spite of ourselves, from your boundless grace and compassion. In your word, you command citizens to obey and to pray for our governing authorities, which you have established to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray tonight, Lord Jesus, for our very fine mayor, for the various city officials who are gathered here tonight, and in particular for this assembled city council. I ask that you would grant them wisdom to govern between competing and sometimes conflicting interests and the issues of our times. I pray you'll give them a sense of the true needs of our people and a vision of their truest welfare. I pray you'll give them, Lord, a driving concern for fairness, for justice, and for what's right for all people. I ask you to give them confidence and the ability to work together in harmony even when honest differences arise. Give them, I pray, Lord, personal peace in their own lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them tonight, that you would give a sense of what's honoring to you, that you would benefit all those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Greenville. In your most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. And we apologize for asking you to go out in the other, but when the other room down there gets occupied and looks like it's set up down there, we don't have a lot of choice. All right, next item is presentations. We have none for that. Next item will be citizens to be heard. Citizens to be heard are invited to address the council on topics not already scheduled for a public hearing or listed on the agenda. You need to present your citizen's comment card to the city secretary. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes and should conduct themselves in a civil manner. The City Council cannot act on items not listed on the agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Concerns will be addressed by the city staff. They may be placed on future agenda or addressed by some other course of response. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and address. Carol?
Wayne Morris.
Wayne Morris, 5600 Vale Street, Greenville. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just like to take a few minutes to speak about our upcoming road bond issue. I've kind of fought over this thing myself a little bit, but first, before going into the comments, I'd like to thank Dr. Ransom, Cedric Dean, and Al Atkins, who are on the Street Improvement Committee, for all their hard work in this. I've been hearing both sides of the argument. Well, why should I vote for something if I don't know what streets are going to be fixed? Well, for the same reason, why would you do that if people don't see their street on it? They're going to think, well, why am I going to bother voting for it? The subcommittee, I think, has a good formula. Paver, the program which examined all the city streets and data, will be input into a computer program that will give the current conditions of the streets, so life expectancy from anywhere from dead 3 weeks ago to, 10 years or so, et cetera, will determine what streets are done when. The only way we're ever going to get ahead of streets, which seems to be the number one, if not number one, and second biggest issue in Greenville, is to go big or stay at home. Hopefully, with Paver, things will get accomplished when they should get accomplished in politics, or good old boys want to enter into it. I would almost like to see a city ordinance, even though I know it's not possible, that Paver will not be deviated from. But I have faith in our elected officials now and in the past and in the future that Paver will be the driving force in this. So I'm asking everybody out there in TV land and here at the meeting and others to, let's support this. Let's go big. Let's get our streets fixed as much as we can. Let's present a lot better image as Greenville continues to grow and hopefully experiences even more growth in the future, that, one of the last things people have to think about is damaging their cars while driving down our streets. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Paul Park. Oh, sorry.
Paul?
No, that's not right. Robnett Bannister.
Good evening. My name is Robinette Bannister. I live at 6920 Sale Street. I did ask for my name and my address to be anonymous tonight because I have fear of retribution about what I'm going to talk about. But it is serious enough to talk about, and for my safety and property to possibly be targeted. I approve and wholeheartedly believe that we need streets. I live on Sale Street, and as soon as I moved here, within the year, they reconstructed Sale Street, and it's wonderful, and the sidewalks are wonderful, but it is a drag strip. I live right behind Academy. It is a drag strip, weeknights, weekends, Saturday, Sunday. It is the entrance into the sports park where the kids are playing and is becoming more populated. We have a developer wanting to come to grow our city, but yet the development they already have, let me just go to what I had prepared. For years now, our neighborhood has been disturbed at all hours of the night and early morning by screeching peel-outs, by drag races, and screams for help. last night, my house backs up to the city park, and I have called the police so many times because I don't know whether that cry for help from that lady last night was real or whether the cry was just them just causing havoc. And then there's the vandalism on top of it. We have a group of drag racers. We have a group of sign pushers, is what I'll refer to them as. Just this morning, I went to have breakfast at Chick-fil-A in Cary Beth Crossing because I support my community and I spend my dollars here. I spend my tax dollars here. I have no children, yet I spend thousands of dollars a year for taxes on the school. I do not go to the hospital here because I luckily am healthy, but yet I pay taxes. My taxes go to the streets and the welfare of all the people. And there I benefit from. I see these signs being pushed, and they have finally accomplished their goal in getting the stop sign in front of Chick-fil-A to the ground, in front of Starbucks. Just within the last year, I have notified the police several times of the public nuisance, the donuts, the peel-outs, the drag racing, and of the vandalism. And their response is that it is not public property, it's private property. Nothing can be done unless Steinbeck files a complaint. But what is happening at the sports park and on public roads can be addressed. I wanted the city council to be aware of this and the two gentlemen who are running for mayor to know what's going on, not just on the Steinbeck properties, but on our public roadways as well. If you will take a few moments to drive down Sale Street, around the high streets of the high school, Monty Stratton, Lark Street, all of the stop signs at the four-way stops are attempting to be pushed over. It's not just the, I noticed this morning and I went around, I've got photos, I've got videos of the progression that this has been going on for years now. It's not just the stop signs, it's any sign. It's electrical boxes and utility connection boxes behind people's houses and in their mailboxes. Everything is pushed. Anything that can be pushed until it finally gives way. And who's going to pay for the destruction? Where is this going to lead when they get bored and are not held accountable? What's going to be next? Like I said, I've got photos and videos of this gang of cars, if you want to call it that, because it's the same ones every weekend. I've got them drag racing up and down in front of my house. I've got them peeling out in front of Hobby Lobby. I've got them peeling out in the city park. People on my street, people in my community are fed up as I am, and we're all voters, and we all care, and we're all fed up with it. We want to know what's going to be done about it. My time is up, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Reginald Kitchen.
Can we have the police chief maybe talk with her or something outside and address or talk about what, I mean, it doesn't have to be for the whole council, but just to let her know that her concerns have been heard. The police chief he's in the back, and sure he'd be happy to talk to you about it. All right.
Hello, I'm Reginald Kinchin. I stay at 1403 Glendale Street in Greenville, Texas. My concern is the city lakes, gates. There's a lot of fishermen out there that's turning around because they can't go to their honey hole. Older people that normally drive to their spot for relaxation or whatever, we're not allowed to do that anymore. And there's no trash cans out there to keep it clean. There used to be a dock out there. There's no docks anymore. And to carry a tackle box, lures, jigs, rods, buckets, whatever, that's a long way to walk. That's 2.2 miles at number 5. I understand number 5 has an intake out there. I understand they're closing at a certain time, but I feel like as if they at least open it from dusk to dawn and allow access at that time. And if you want to fish after dark, that's on you. You can walk from that point or whatever, but robbing us of fishing and our relaxation time is kind of wrong, you know? I feel like if y'all allowed that, a lot more people will come. I came out there the other day and watched several cars turn around in frustration because they haven't had a place to fish. We pay taxes, we pay for fishing license, but we're forced to travel to like Lavon and Tawakoni just to fish. And to me, that's wrong. I feel like we should come to a agreement on what we can and can't do other than just stopping it completely. It's a lot of people out there that's frustrated. You run into them at stores. People come from out of town to fish, and then when they get there, they're only allowed to go to the gate. You're not going to catch any fish at the gate, you know? And I've seen older people, 60s, go out there to fish and just talk. And they turned around. I can walk, but I shouldn't have to walk that far to fish. I've paid my dues, you know what I mean? So is there any way that y'all could come up with something to help us out, like improvements out there? Like maybe put some docks up, maybe put some trash cans up, you know, maybe put porta potties out there or something to improve the area for other people will want to come and spend money here, you know? They come to stores to buy minnows and jigs or whatever, but they're wasting their money because there's nowhere to fish. Number 4 is a real good place to fish. There's a lot of big fish out there. I know because I've caught them. But if you can't get to your honey hole, you can't fish. So if y'all could look into that, I'd appreciate it.
One of the reasons the fencing was put up, just as a highlight, is the city's had to tow several cars out of those reservoirs.
Yes, sir, I know.
And so trying to keep people from driving their vehicles into the reservoir, the object was to put fences up to make it safer. But we can have people look at it, see if there's a way to reduce the probability of that and still allow you to be able to get up there.
Well, you're speaking of number 5. I agree there should be some type of blockage there. I was speaking in a whole, number 5 and number 4 is blocked off. We already have a fence up there at number 4 from when the little kid drowned. I know about that. They drive into the lake from there, they trying to do it themselves.
Thank you. Okay, have no other. So we will close the citizens to be heard. Next item is public testimony. Public testimony occurs when the citizens are invited to address the council on topics already on the agenda. Speakers will be invited to speak at the time of the council discussion for the item. Again, please give your comment card to the city secretary. Speakers will be limited to 2 minutes for each agenda item. First item up is consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing a professional service agreement for engineering services for the design of a new taxiway extension and apron for Majorsfield Airport. Di?
Thank you, Mayor. Council. For your consideration and action, this is a professional service agreement with the engineering firm H.W. Lochner to do the design and planning work for the airport taxiway and the addition of new aircraft parking apron east of the General Aviation Terminal building. These projects have been selected to meet the council goals and objectives and to help current demand in the general aviation community. Are there any questions pertaining to that? I put up a picture on the back and on the slides for your viewing.
Ty, I thought when we did a lot of the initial planning and discussion on there, we were going to try and put more hangars and stuff below the taxiway kilo. Is that still part of the overall plan, or is that not part of the plan anymore?
That is still part of the plan. This is the immediate near-term improvements that we can have to the airport. We have a demand out there of parking space. We need to have that improved immediately. And this was the best.
For airplane parking?
Airplane parking. This doubles the capacity that we have out there with the parking apron on the east of the building.
Now, right there by the oval on taxiway Kilo, is that hangars that you've got depicted there?
We are building the taxiway, and hopefully we can have that area ready so we can build hangars. It's not T hangars, it's one-sided, such as a Majors Flying Club. They have 3 bays out there that they can get into, and those are placeholders for any business, whether it's general aviation, small aircraft to the south or to the bottom of the taxiway, or we could put bigger hangars for corporate jets to the north of that as well.
Do we have any sort of restriction on your area there that's shown on the right-hand side of the picture, that we're far enough away from the taxiway and the runway that that's not a problem for the FAA?
No, sir, I've looked at all of that, and there's, on these slides, there's a yellow dashed line. That's a TOFA, taxiway object-free area. And we've designed this to keep the wings of the aircraft from clipping the ones that are parked on the private tenant aprons if we have those built on that taxiway.
That's preferable. I don't want to hit anybody with the airplane there.
That's, so I've looked into
The
that as
expenses
well.
get real high when you have to repair the wings all the time. Anybody on the council have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody in the audience have anything they would like to say for public testimony on this?
No.
None heard. At this point, I'll close the public testimony on that, and if there is no other questions, is there any questions from the council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
All right, Al? Kristen? And please vote. There, we're going to get to see the vote. So far, it's 2-0.
Should again.
While she's getting that, could I get a hand raise if you're in favor of it? And it passes 7-0. All right, next item, 7B, consideration and action on an ordinance approving the application of the force majeure clause with Greenville Retail Center. And Daniel, is he going to be able to show up?
Choice to either grant or not grant, but it's a request from the Sandbag Group for a 1-year extension for their development agreement. A few years ago, or a few months ago, we passed a force majeure amendment to that contract. Under that force majeure, the Sandbag organization reflected with a review of the extended at the end of that period for another longer. I can answer any questions about that right now, or we discuss it in executive session more, or vote on it.
Just to help the folks that are here that don't necessarily know what force majeure means, basically it's if an event occurs that affects a contractor's ability to perform their obligation, but it's the cause of it is beyond their reasonable control. And the pandemic was what we passed in the added words. There's things like storms, flood, lightning, tornadoes, earthquakes, epidemics, pandemics, declaration of national state emergencies, and it's a very long list of items in there. And so in this case, what they're asking for in this contract is a delay of 1 year from the time that they have to execute the contract. And for those of you that remember the contract, on the 21st of May, they have to start work. And the big problem is when he puts a shovel in the ground to start work on or before the 21st of May, he's got 5 days to start construction on Cinemark. And with the pandemic and everything that's occurred there across the nation, Cinemark is not prepared yet at this time. They still want to come here, but they're not prepared to start work just yet. So they're asking for a 1-year extension on their contract, which would take it out essentially to May 21 of 2022. And I'm sorry, I can't, you got to.
I said we was voting for 1 year exact is what I was thinking, but it says with an option to request an additional extension.
And in order to get additional time, he's got to come back and prove to the council that it needs to be, but it would be the council in service at that time.
If Cinemark notifies the developer it cannot take action or grant approval in time for the developer to meet the entertainment anchor commencement date, this request due to the delay caused by the industry-wide effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if this goes 1 year and Cinemark contact them close to the end of the year and say they can't move forward, he have the option to ask for another extension?
He could come to the council and say, hey, I need another extension, or he can come forward and say, I've got other options I'd like to look at. But it would be a decision by the council that's in service at that time. It's not an automatic. Anything else, Cedric?
What's addiction extension in Cinemark?
Cedric?
It seems like it can be automatic with the way it's worded, with an additional extension. Why come we can't?
No, it's with the option to come and ask for it. It's not an automatic that he gets it. He's got to come and ask for it. If this council agrees to a 1-year extension, that's all there is. If things develop out to where he needs more time, he's got to come to the council in service at that time and convince them that he needs additional time.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody else have any other questions?
And just to be clear, this is on the entire project, not the city.
Correct. If the contract is with Kent, it affects the entire project. And the city pays no money until the road is 100% complete. So if he gets 95% complete and for whatever reason stops there, city owes him nothing. Any other questions from the council or comments? Okay, at this time I'll open it up to public testimony. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this?
Wayne Morris.
Good evening once again, Wayne Morris, or I'm thinking about changing my name legally to Infrastructure. Still at 5600 Vale Street, Greenville. Greenville already has a nice cinemaplex that was built with zero city dollars, taxpayer dollars, et cetera. But moving on, I know due to the previous disaster declaration, it would be extremely difficult not to grant some type of extension via the force majeure clause. But I personally feel, and other people I've spoken to in my neighborhood, that anything over 6 months is ludicrous. This project was originally sold to the city as luxury living, upscale retail, and dining to be anchored by a new cinema. Yet no commitments from retail or dining were ever even obtained in over a lengthy period of close to 2 years prior to COVID even being a word that anybody recognized. Even a firm commitment from Cinemark was missing as they were struggling financially prior to the pandemic and still are. The city has pledged in the neighborhood of $6 million in infrastructure reimbursement costs via TERS dollars to be recouped via sales tax revenue. The way things are looking in movie theater and perhaps a fast food joint or two down the road will never even come close to recouping the expenditures that we would be tying up for TERS money that could possibly be used in other projects willing to come in and get to work right now. A recent Greenville Herald Banner Facebook poll, which was published March 31st, with more than 1,100 responses, showed not one mention of anybody having a priority of a new movie theater, but instead a Target was number one, which we know is not going to happen. In summary, let's not compound a previous mistake by repeating it. Thank you.
One
Paul?
correction there, Mr. Morris, is the contract that we have only stipulated the road and Cinemark. The contract that we had with him didn't identify additional retail. So the fact that people haven't heard about all the different stores that Mr. Steinbach would line up was not part of the original contract. That was part of the development that he wanted to expand. So the obligation that the city had was to have him build the road and build the Cinemark, and then the rest of the stuff was whatever he brought in.
That's fine, Mr. Mayor. However, I remember sitting through his presentation 3 times, looking at the glorious high-scale dining and retail. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Paul Park.
Paul Park, 207 Patterson Drive, Greenville, Texas. I want to just give you a little status on Cinemark. John Gamble, who is the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer of Cinemark, stated in July, at the end of July 31st, in fact, that Cinemark had $525 million in operating capital. Clarified they were burning through $50 million a month of that. Do a little math, they're out of money in 10 months, and it was 8 months ago when he made that statement. 80% of Cinemark's facilities are opened on a limited basis right now. Their primary goal, according to their chief operating officer, is to get their current locations to 100% before they start building any new ones. That was also July's statement. Box office sales are 6% of what they were last year. Not down 6%, 6% of the total sales. Cinemark has seen its share value fall 75% since January of 2020. The share value, Cinemark has a debt of $2.8 million and a debt to equity ratio of 139.6, which, as stated by Wall Street, implies that they may be unable to create the cash needed to meet financial obligations and commitments. Latest analysis as of today is there a 50% probability Cinemark will file for bankruptcy this year. As expected, Cinemark has done better than its competitors because they didn't have as much debt going in. Surveys also clearly show that a large portion, 70% of the people, have no intention of returning to a theater. They're going to continue streaming and purchasing videos online. Only 17% want to go back to a theater. It's also stated, Cinemark may see a recovery in sales, but not without a full recovery, and its shares are clearly overvalued today. So if you approve an extension, you
Well,
might as well do
your
it for
time-
2
Your time
years,
is up.
because you're going to be doing this in a year. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
No more.
Okay, anybody on the council have any other questions? Or
I don't
comments?
have a question, but I'd like to make a statement, just to let everybody know that, we pretty much have to do this because of the contract that we signed with the force majeure. So it's a yes or no, or according to our city representative, it can be a lawsuit possibly. I'm just telling you, I don't know if I said it, whatever, I already said it anyway. But it's something that we have to do, so what we can do is Mr. Steinbeck, as he's Mr. GHS, I will ask Mr. GHS to work harder and try to get someone else in here to come negotiate something else with the city so we can move forward with the development in the area, but this is where we're at right now.
And he's correct. The contract that we have specifies it's got to be a Cinemark. If Mr. Steinbach wants to make a change, he would have to come and try and renegotiate that with the council that's in place at the time. Any other questions or comments?
I think it's important. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, get it up close.
I'd like to say that this is.
You got to go ahead and speak, but that's all right, we got you.
He said the extension do not cost the city any money at all because it was, what was the contract?
It's a performance-based
Performance-based
contract.
contract.
What I said is it doesn't cost, the extension doesn't, it's not gonna cost us anything to extend this for 1 year. Pardon me?
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Nope.
Al?
I just want to say that I've had a lot of concerns on this, and I want to point out that there's 3 of us on council currently that were not involved in the negotiations or the original vote on this project. The ordinance that is written states that the clause grants a 1-year extension on the entertainment anchor commencement date and deadlines related to that date, and to allow additional council review of those extensions and potential additional exceptions within 12 months of the original date. Come May, there's going to be, except for 2 people up here, a whole new body up here.
Well, there'll be 4 of you that'll still be here.
Yeah. They're here already.
3 of you and 1 of them.
2 of us are here already, but, or
3 of you and 1 of them, 2.
While I have a lot of concerns, I think the extension is in order to allow the new folks and the incoming folks to get up to speed on the nuances of this contract and to make an educated decision, whether it be 6 months, 8 months, 10 months down the road, or a year from now.
Any other comments?
I just want to echo what Jerry said about this doesn't cost the city anything. And just to clarify, it does not tie up TERS money. This project is, I don't know if this is exactly the right term, but it's self-funding. The money that funds the portion of the road that the city is responsible for is money that comes from that development, not from elsewhere in the TERS. So we're not, there were a lot of different things presented to the public over a long period of time as we negotiated and worked this deal out. But by the time we got to the end of it, I'm pretty certain that the money that goes to fund that road has to come from Kent's project.
You're correct.
And so we're not tying up money. We're not putting the city at risk. If the development happens, then we'll use some of the money from that development to pay for a street, pay for part of a street. But it's not an obligation that we have unless it develops. And so I probably disagree with Mr. Park on some of the outlook for Cinemark. I don't think that's an unrealistic outlook. I think it's more pessimistic. I tend to be more optimistic, sometimes too optimistic. But I think there are concerns about whether Cinemark or any movie theater can bounce back that quickly. It looks their kind of 5-year average of stocks for the first 4 years was about 40 to 45, and now they're at about 22 after being down around 1. And so they're coming back stock wise, but not where they're going to be. And maybe it would be wise to go ahead and do a 2-year extension and just give the time to do it. I don't think Kent's going to work any faster or harder because he's not motivated by council. He's motivated by trying to get the project working. So I don't know what the rest of the council would think about that, but I think there's some wisdom in just giving a 2-year extension now and being done with it.
Well, anything else?
No.
My opinion is a 1-year extension is probably in order. It gives him a benchmark, and based upon the information that Cinemark has relayed to him and he's relayed to us, they're hoping to be able to get this going in a year. My concern, if you gave him a 2-year extension, is we don't keep the pressure on him.
Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, the city ought to keep the pressure on him to get it done and move it forward. If things turn sour, then he needs to come to the city and say, here's an option, can we do this? Or, but right now, as Jerry pointed out, it's not costing the city any money. And as you pointed out, the payment on the TERS comes out of whatever is produced out of his property. Yes, Al?
Is Daniel still on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Daniel, I just have one quick question based on a comment that Mr. Park made. If Cinemark was to default, would this, or to file bankruptcy, would this agreement default?
You're saying if Cinemark filed for bankruptcy, would the agreement default?
Correct.
I'm not sure. I haven't even thought about that. I mean, basically, the agreement says specifically all of that development is tied to the entertainment anchor. Entertainment anchor is defined as Cinemark. And so if Cinemark filed for bankruptcy, the problem is bankruptcy is not just one thing. It could be 3 different things, really more than 3 things for a corporation like that. So it's basically, depending on whether they filed 7, 11, or 13, or some other chapter under the bankruptcy code, they could still move forward with capital expenditures, depending on who their bankruptcy trustee would be, a lot of other issues. And so none of those are on the agenda tonight. We can't really talk about them. But the answer to that is very much unclear. One thing that is for sure is that they filed for bankruptcy and they either their trustee or the bankruptcy judge that appoints the trustee didn't let them move forward with any sort of capital expenditure like this, and the contract would become unenforceable and voidable at least, because it would be impossible to perform. But I can't talk about the legal impact of that in open session unless the council votes and tells me to do that.
No, that's not required. You answered enough of my question. Thank you.
Anything else from anybody else on the council?
If we extend this contract, far as property appearance wise, will they, like, I want to know what's in that contract, the clause, because if we extend the contract, we have someone, let's say someone does want to open up a grocery. If you're looking at their property right now, it looks like a trash dump. I wouldn't want to put anything right there because it's junky. So I want to know what's in the contract. What all's in that contract?
The contract, the city doesn't own the property.
Mm-hmm.
Kent owns the property, or some of his investors own the property. And what the contract was for was to build a road that goes through basically from Sale over to Monty Stratton, and to build the Cinemark in there.
Okay,
There was no other guarantees that any other particular type of store, Kohl's or any of that, none of that was negotiated. It was whatever Kent could get to sign up to move in there. He talked about putting restaurants along the I-30 portion that would be supported by the, but as far as the extension, the property stays basically like it is unless Kent gets out there and cleans it up. But if he starts construction by the contract, he's got to start construction on the Cinemark within 5 days.
okay,
But if it sits like it's doing and he's not doing any work and he gets a year's extension, the grass will continue to grow. Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Approval?
Second.
All right, Brent. Tim, you seconded. Please vote. Okay, now we got names up, but we're not going to register the names. Okay, let me see a hand vote here. All right, passes 7-0. All right, moving on to item 8, resolution, consideration and action on a resolution approving the purchase of a canine dog pre-trained in narcotic detection, tracking, and patrol. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What this project is to add an additional canine to our department. Currently, we have one, narcotic detection primarily, drug interdiction primarily. What we would like to do is plan for the future. The city has launched and engaged for probably about the past 9 months or so, succession planning. How do we move from one trained, equipped person to the next without a gap? Pass on institutional knowledge, skills, things of that nature. So what we're proposing to do is to add an additional canine to our department. Now, there will be no additional officer attached to that. Instead of working primarily interdiction on the highways and such, they will be assigned to the patrol division. They will answer the calls just like they normally would, but this is an additional tool. You can look at it as a force multiplier. Typically, many calls require 2 officers for safety purposes. This would buy us a little time if my canine handler showed up and he had his canine, till we can get him another officer. Canines are, they're very, very intelligent animals. They can do things that people can't do. They can go places that humans can't get to, where it's either difficult or unsafe. Thereby, we reduce exposure to injury to our officers. They're uninjured, they're on the job, rather than recovering in a workers' compensation scenario. They're a great public relations tool. These dogs are not overly aggressive, and they're not trained to be aggressive except when they're told to be. We've had great success with our canine programs here at the Greenville Police Department. In the past, we've had 2, one for tracking and one for interdiction, drug purposes. And while those are 2 distinct different types of jobs, we want to bring another canine into our fold to be prepared for when our current canine has worked his life. That's usually about 7 years. If health holds, there's no accidents, no injuries that sideline the canine. Also, our current canine officers have been in that position for a number of years. Because these canines go places that humans can't go, our humans try. They have to crawl over the top of of 18-wheelers, doing searches and such as that. It's a commitment that I don't think I could be a K-9 officer, but we do have people in our department that are willing to serve in that capacity and have that interest in that level of commitment. Currently, you know, we've gotten all types of awards for our handler in his K-9 work. So we're looking for not to have a gap in service. This is an excellent service. Sometimes Trap, our current K-9, does tracking. That's very good. He does patrol, and that's great. And this is an opportunity for us to have these two handlers with our senior handler passing on all of this knowledge and skill development and such as that, rather than starting out from ground zero with input from others that perhaps, yes, are professionals, they're in the business, but they're not Greenville based. Again, you know, they typically work for about 7 years. Now, to purchase this, we're proposing using seizure funds. The initial cost to get this kick-started is $26,710. That's going to take care of the purchase of a trained K-9 selected. Typically, they're the Belgian Malinois or Malinois Shepherds. We're not going to need an additional vehicle because we have it. We'll just need to equip it. So it's going to be equipment for the vehicle, for the handler, and for the K-9 itself. Various fees that are associated with certification programs. And we're proposing that that the annual cost is about $33,650 moving into the future per year. Now, with the purchase of this K-9, we've had great success with TRAP. It's an outstanding, internationally recognized organization. It's going to come with a 3-year genetic health and working dog guarantee, which would just flat replace the K-9. If it has a genetic issue that keeps it from doing what it needs to be doing, or it's affected its health, it can't work, or, as some people might say, that dog don't hunt. They're going to replace it. So that's a great thing to have. They also offer unlimited maintenance program for the handler and the K-9 on any field relating training. So if they're having problems, they'll bring them back. Said, okay, let's work through these problems. It's usually a K-9 training or handler and K-9 communication issue. They work those out, set them back to work, and that's unlimited. Anytime we need to tweak it, we can. And by implementing this, we're also supporting Council Goal number 5, support public service, health, and safety.
Any questions for the chief?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this? None heard. I'll close that. Is there last chance for the council? I'll entertain a motion. Jerry? Travis? Brent, did you second?
I did.
Well, we've gotten as far as blue. Passes 7-0. Thank you. Next is a consent calendar. Carol?
City Council meeting minutes from March 23rd. Resolution approving the annual subscription of the investigative data platform. Resolution approving the Microsoft Office 365 license renewal. Resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with Hunt Regional and announcing the names of Karen Bates to place 4 and Sue Ann Harding to place 5 to be nominated for reappointment on the Juice Board of Trustees.
Does anybody on the council have any concerns or questions on any one of the items?
I'm not interested.
Go ahead.
I had a relative that actually came here for her COVID vaccination. Of those now, and I just want to compliment the fire department. House. He just described the operation as seamless. absolutely perfect. And just want to commend the fire department for everything you've done out there. A lot of community comments about what a great job you did. I don't know how long you're going to continue. It's gone very, very smooth.
I'll say one thing.
I'm not at liberty to say you can say one thing.
No, I'm sorry. Well, I just think it's only fair, really, to comment on that, and certainly I do appreciate that, but it's really, it's a complete group effort between the fire department, the police department, the hospital district, the sheriff's office, and the county. So, I mean, really, it's most certainly not just the fire department. We play a part, for sure, but it's all of those. It definitely is a group effort. And so I just wanted to make sure.
I'd like to add on there is I have received several comments concerning the shot process that's gone through out there, and every one of them has been absolutely marveled at how great it's gone and how good it was. Not at all like we hear on the news on some of the other places are giving shots. So anyway, well done. Does anybody have any other questions or comments they wish to make on the consent calendar?
Can we add to the agenda? This is where we're talking about? We can add stuff to the, no?
No.
Oh, well, never mind.
You can't add.
Okay.
I don't know. What, anybody from the audience wish to speak on any of these items? None heard? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I approve. I second.
All right, Kim, Christian. And passes 7-0. Summer, we got anything from city staff report? Okay, anything, any just proposed agenda items?
Yes, can we add on what's going on with the reservoirs?
Reservoirs?
Yes.
I agree.
I agree as well. I went out there today and looked at it, and the access to Reservoir 5 is very difficult to.
And 4, it's horrible.
We can't discuss
Okay.
it, folks. I've got it on here. Anything else?
It's going around. Go ahead.
I'd like to discuss food truck permit process.
The what?
A food truck permit process.
Okay. Anything else?
Can we get a report from the our chief or email, not the fire chief, the police department, or email on Ms. Robbins' situation? Like if you all gonna do some staking out or over the weekend, over the week, through the week.
On the speedway and the pushing?
Speedway, the bushing, the vandalism, Money Stratton, Sale Street, Lot Street. Just get a report on what you all find.
Okay. Any other?
Maybe address there seem to be a lot of concerns on garbage and recycling pickup recently.
On the what?
Garbage and recycling pickup of wrong items being recycled or lengthy time of pickup. Delayed pickups.
Waste Connection.
Yeah, Waste Connection.
The what?
Waste Connection.
Waste Connections.
The trash, I guess the delay in the trash company around picking up trash. Basically what he's talking about.
They're commonly
scheduled or not?
Well, they're maybe find out why they seem to be delayed by a day a lot of times now.
Yeah,
on pickups.
and last time they picked up my trash, they picked up most of my trash. It was all in the can, but I think, I mean, my thought was if they dump the whole can in the trash, then they're going to run out of space in their truck. So if they just take half of everybody's trash, then they can keep up or something. I don't know.
Really?
I could add to that, but I'm just. All right, anything else? Okay, next we have the minutes from the Library Advisory Board. Anybody have any questions on that? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll conclude the open session, and we will have to go into executive session. Again, thank you for attending, but you got to get out of here.
The recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right part to keep your vehicle running. And backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.